What difference at this point does it make?
Absolutely. My ACT email address is ACT, the numeral 4, our country, @gmail.com. And any of your listeners, if they would just put something in the email to the effect that they heard us on this program, that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Jane, this is Phil. I have a few questions of interest, and I guess I'm kind of concerned or intrigued about this murder clause when people try to get away from the Islamic faith. Do you personally know of anybody, or have you ever met anybody that met that demise?
No, I have no personal connections of that sort, but I will tell you that within our chapter we have several former Muslims, all of whom absolutely agree that yes, this is law. And I do have a copy of the Reliance of the Traveler, and if anybody in your audience would like to look it up, it's section 08.1, and it's just one sentence. And I have to paraphrase, but it's something to the effect of when a person reaches puberty and voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed.
Wow.
Yep, and that's just the beginning of it. But that brings up another important point, and that is this is not anti-Muslim.
Right.
I mean, stop and think. You and I could have been born into this ideology, and unless you are a really gutsy person, that's very frightening to have a penalty like that. And so I understand that lots of people are stuck in Islam who don't want to be there, and my heart goes out to them, and I fully support them.
So Jane, is it the sense that the radical Islam are hiding behind the honest, wonderful Muslims to advance a political agenda?
If I'm understanding your question, let's see, the more moderate Muslims have a tough time speaking out against the more radical. So, maybe they present a face for the benefit, or that works to the benefit of the more radical. And I have no idea what sort of percentage of those Muslims are radical or more moderate. But people who talk about a radical Islam, it's all radical the way I see it. There is one Islam essentially. Yes, there are different sects, but it's all pretty darn radical. I disagree with that terminology.
Jane, I know I have read in the past of cases where fathers murdered their own daughters because they become too Americanized and they were dating American boys. And I know that's on a computer somewhere if people want to look into it, and because you don't want to have to believe me if you don't want to. But go on a computer and ask that question to the computer. You'll find that story is true.
Well, not only that, I can tell you that's in the Reliance of the Traveler too. Sections 01.1, the section 01.1 talks about penalties for various crimes, but those are basically crimes to Muslims. Section 01.2 lists exceptions to those penalties. One is there is no penalty if a Muslim kills a non-Muslim. We need to know that. And another exception is the one you mentioned. If a Muslim kills any of their children or grandchildren, there is no penalty. That's really frightening.
Now, Jane, that's considered an honor killings, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what the documentary Honor Diaries is about. Not just the killings, but the acid attacks and just all sorts of horrific.
Well, I know the father who killed his two daughters was protected by this Muslim community that he lived in. They still have never found him, so they don't know. He's probably over overseas somewhere by now.
like
Jane, where can the general public view honor diaries?
If they want to email me at that email that I gave you, I will keep them in mind. We've had 2 showings so far. I'd like to have lots and lots more. We're hoping to get this on campuses, into churches and synagogues and women's groups, etc. So if they have thoughts of where we might show it or want to see it themselves, I'd like to know that.
So if the general public, the people listening to the show, have a good working relationship with the respective church or synagogue, they could arrange to have the honor diary shown and communicate with you for making logistic arrangements?
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that we all can do, is to communicate.
Yes.
Okay.
And honor diaries, too, I might mention, is approached so sensitively. It doesn't bash Muslims. What its concern is strictly human rights abuses within Islam, and not all of them, but there's the women-oriented ones. It follows 9 women activists, and at least 2 of them are wedded to staying Muslim. So it's not saying no, this whole thing's wrong. It's the human rights abuses.
So, Jane, if the people go to your website, actforamerica.org, would your email be there for the Connecticut?
For the Connecticut chapter, yes, it is.
Okay, so if the people go to actforamerica.org, they can actually get your email off of that too, correct?
Yes, they can.
Good.
All the chapter emails are there.
Great.
And we will be opening up a second chapter, too, in the Hartford area. So, because I know Connecticut, even though it's a small state, it's when you actually drive the distance, it can get a little overwhelming. So we are trying to up our number of chapters, too.
If I could suggest that if you missed the correct email address or website, if you were to send Wally's email, and Wally can certainly respond and give you the correct email address.
Or our email, the Wheel of Freedom at gmail.com,
Right.
and we can give you the information. So.
I didn't mean to call you Wally.
That's all right.
I was thinking, he's better looking.
You know what, Jane? In the next 2 days, I'll just get a quick paragraph in your information up on our website. As long as I can get a hold of our webmaster and just have him
He's hiding.
stick that up real quick, that'd be great.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
Well, just thank you, Jane. You are a true American patriot, and God bless you for all the hard work that you do. You're serving all of America, so thank you so much.
Keep up the good work, Jane.
Well, thank you. As you know, we have wonderful, wonderful chapter members, so I appreciate that.
And Jane, can we have you back on again in the future?
Oh, it would be my delight. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you again, Jane.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
She'd be good for Jane Bate to interview.
All right. So, that was good. Thank you.
That was a very good interview.
That was good, and to hear. I mean, she brought up a great point. It isn't that all Muslims are bad, or that you hate Muslims, or this or that. It's the extremists that are like out of control. I mean, literally out of control. And but where we have all this stuff, you have it going on in New London. You guys saw the video that the Channel 3 News. Now the city of New London's already bending and changing their class schedule, no tests on certain holidays, and so that's only maybe the tip of the iceberg, or the camel's nose getting under the tent, so to speak. What's your take, Jim?
Well, there's correlation here. If you watch the news today, yesterday, all you hear is how Hamas how many Palestinians are being killed as a result of the Israeli attacks, principally because Hamas is using the children and the populace as a human shield. And so my sense is that the Brotherhood and CARE, they're hiding behind the wonderful Muslims in this country, the patriotic Muslim Americans, that don't have the ability to speak out. And so I would suggest that we need to be aware of the clandestine use of innocent civilians, kind of like what's going on the border.
Sure.
Where our government is using children and innocents as a shield for what's really going on.
In Texas alone, they found 278 dead people, children.
Right.
In Texas alone. That's one state. How many of them are buried somewhere we don't know where they are? Or how many were sent to other countries to be sex slaves? We don't know.
Sure. Now, before we get, Wally, you have quite a bit, and we're at 7:41. But just real quick, Saturday I was at breakfast with two Israelis, and one is my friend. He's from Manhattan, and the other one was his cousin that just got back from Israel. And on their smartphones, they have what they call the Red Alert, and it's an Israeli program that warns you every time a missile, every 5 minutes as we're eating breakfast. I was amazed. I'm like, are you serious? And I look over at the phone, every 5 minutes they were shooting missiles for an hour straight. And I'm like, if that was happening here, the missiles hitting Connecticut every 5 minutes, you know what? We're not just going to sit back and do nothing and hide and whatever the world thinks that they should be doing. You have to defend yourself. And hopefully in the near future, we're going to have some Israeli people, guests, maybe calling in from Israel, whatever. So I certainly have the connections. I just have to ask.
Yeah, I heard someone reporting in the press, well, the missiles they were shooting into Israel are small missiles. I mean, they're going to explode, so what the heck difference if they're small or big? If it hits your house, you're gone.
So, Wally, it's 7:42. You have several things you want to dig into. I think it's time for you to dig in, and we'll just join in with you.
Well, as you're getting ready to show this book to people,
Okay.
I'm going to just mention shortly.
Reg, camera 3, please.
I'm going to mention La Raza. La Raza is an American organization, and they're very, very powerful in this country. And they are changing our governments. We have two people from Texas who belong to La Raza. One is a congressman from Texas, and another one is in the government of President Obama. And they are also a communist organization, and they're forming all over the country. All over the country. They're active, and they're getting money from this federal government. They have like quadrupled the money they get from government from Obama. And I think Obama's in bed with those people too, because he's leaning towards the Muslims.
I think he's been in bed with a lot of people.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
a lot of these weird stuff. I said this way back, like a year or more ago, when I was really upset at the time of my mother passing, and I don't want to go into it right now, but yeah, I said a few harsh things that I've heard, and I believe a lot of them may be true. Yeah. I think he's also a cokehead. Yeah. I really do. I mean, you don't just give that stuff up. And if you're hanging out with Hollywood stars coming all the time to the White House, how would you know? Yeah. You can hide that stuff so easy. You just can't go out in the public hide. But continue, Wally.
Well, getting back to this book, America. To me, this is an excellent book, and it's in the libraries now, and it's in some of the bookstores. It was banned from Costco. They took all the books out of the store because the owner of the business found out it was in the store, and he's a big campaign donator to President Obama and the Democratic parties. He later on said he was going to bring it back in, but I haven't heard that it's back in. But this is a good educational book. It gives you a lot of thoughts that you don't even read in your history books, things you don't know. People should know these things, what's going on in this country.